have seen a ghost face looking out. Some have seen the lady in the black dress. Others have seen a little girl. Who knows what else is going to be seen? Recently, my daughter had an encounter with a ghost of a woman with a long white dress but no eyes, as if her eyes had been cut out of her face. What outrage caused that? We still don't know. Who she is, we don't know. But the rumor is she may have been a servant who was attacked.
We gotta bring the people in more. There's
Yeah, okay, we gotta get out of here. Thank you. Now, many times I found this with photographs. Before an apparition is photographed, we'll get these weird blue blobs. So be on the lookout for blue blobs if you're taking pictures. Usually something's materializing. You'll get the blue blob, the next shot you'll get something more pronounced. I found that in about 10 places I've investigated. I don't know what it is, but it is definitely something worth examining. All right, we're going to go into the house, but before we do you want to tell them about what happened to you?
No, you can do it.
Here?
No.
No, you can do it.
I'm good.
No, I'll tell them.
Remember you were here with Kyle?
It was years ago, because our son is like 32 years old now, and he was 5. And
yeah, it was a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Time flies.
Literally, all of our kids, I mean, our 2 daughters over here and our son, literally grew up here, because Richard was the site manager here for 22 years. And so we were out here, and that was during the time where there was grass all here and a beautiful fountain and all. And Kyle and I were in the, we're over in this area over here, and we were just spinning. You know how you take a little kid and you just kind of like spin them around and stuff like that, just to try to waste time, because Richard was here having to do something.
Yeah,
and then at one point, Kyle stopped and he says, "Mom, look at this." And we turned, and where there's double doors here, they're open now, where the sala is, they were closed because the house was actually closed up. And the doors were closed. And as I turned and looked, we both stood there. There was a woman in the window looking at us, and she was all in black. And she wasn't angry though. A lot of times they say when they see the woman in black, she's kind of ticked off. She was kind of like smiling. And Kyle goes, "Oh, look, there's the ghost." And I'm like, "Oh no, that's no ghost," because he's only 5. I didn't want to scare him. So I'm like, "Oh, come on, let's go find your dad." I'm like pulling him. He goes, "No, Mom, no, this is really cool." But that was, like I said, that was years and years ago that we saw that.
Both of my daughters have seen things out here. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get them to talk about it. All right, we're going to divide into 2 groups. One of you is going with Debbie, my wife.
I need a flashlight.
And she's going to need
a... we've heard the piano play by itself, but one time Richard was working here, and a man came in, and he heard the piano playing, just odd, back and forth, back and forth. He went and ran and got Richard. And he says, "Richard, watch." And all of a sudden, Richard saw the piano. The keys were actually manipulating. And Richard goes, "Okay, this is odd. This is odd." So he took everything off of here. That's them upstairs. He took everything off of here, opened it up, and what he found inside were 2 newborn kittens. And they were running up and down, because we have feral cats around here that live around here, and we don't really do anything to them because they kill down the mice that are around here. But he found they barely had their eyes open. And they were like running back and forth across the tuning wires.
So cute.
So that was the ghost of the piano for that time were 2 little kittens that were running back and forth. We also have, down here you'll notice there's a clock. It hasn't been put back up yet. It is from the Civil War time, and it does work. And what's weird about this clock is that it'll periodically, it will chime and it'll do whatever it wants to do, but then it always seems to stop at a certain time. And we have a clock guy that comes and he checks this all the time. He says there isn't a darn thing wrong with it, but it always seems to want to stop at around 2:30 for some reason. And then it'll just start again and work, and then it stops at 2:30, but it doesn't do it all the time. If it did it all the time, we would think it's just the clock, but it only does it on like certain times of the month. Also, we go over here. I like to show you this. Does anybody know what this is?
It's that?
It's a hair wreath.
Oh, sorry, I thought
This is a hair wreath, and they're quite valuable. This would have been when someone died. They would cut the person's hair, and they would weave their hair into a wreath. And what's interesting is this, for the longest time, look how beautiful that is. This, for the longest time, hung here. And for some reason, they kept seeing a woman right here. She would just be standing here. Now, I sometimes wonder about that because we know for a fact that one of the Olivas daughters, or actually wasn't daughter, it was daughter-in-law. It was Francesca, and I can't remember her last name.
No,
but
it wasn't Francesca. It was.
Who was it?
Ampara.
Ampara. Ampara's picture is actually, let's see, I think
She's over here, I think.
here's Ampara.
She's the little one right there.
The little one. Here's Ampara. Ampara is right here. Now, why I mention Ampara is because she died in this room on Halloween night.
Oh, great.
In childbirth. She actually said to them, the baby was breech, and it was, she told them, cut it out. Cut the baby out of me. Now, if you knew anything at that time, there was no anesthetic, there was nothing. It was sure death for the mother. So she had the baby taken out. It was a little boy, and sadly, he only lived for 3 weeks afterwards. But some people might think that she might be the woman in black, or she might be one of the women that's seen here.
Oftentimes, before that, people would report seeing the lady in black, they'd hear a baby crying. And many times they'd see her carrying
A baby.
Who's he?
That right there
That's
is
Nicholas.
That's
Oh,
our
mine's
that's
me
The guy that was floating
that's
outside
the guy
the
that was
window.
floating outside the window.
I
That's
feel like
Nicholas.
your husband. Right there.
No, that's
He does
Nicholas. Also, we've heard this playing by itself. This is actually a music box, and it was a very elaborate thing. What happened is this cost about $5,000 in gold when Raimondo bought it. It was extravagant. Why did he buy it? Nobody else had one. And the little lamb you see in here was from a nativity scene that was actually put in there by one of the Olivas children. We have a oral record that was written down later about the child putting that in there. They talked about elaborate parties that they had in here, and what they would do is one of the children would sit here and they would play it. It does work. What I'm going to do is play it for you. It does play by itself on a yeah, the little boy just...
Does anybody know whose hair is in that?
They
hair
think
wreath?
that it's actually more than one person. They actually believe that it might be a combination of 3 people.
Okay.
And it is Olivas hair, but we're not sure whose.
Okay.
But it's been in the family for years and years and years and years. They were highly collectible at one time. And in fact, they are now too. This particular one they did have, it's sad that the frame broke when they brought it down.
There it goes.
But this was actually appraised at close to $100,000 for this particular one.